Okay, in our next tutorial, we're going to learn if, then, else, and end if statements in VBA. We already did this in tutorial 2 when we did the dog recommendation and restaurant recommendation. But let's use another example. In order to do this, let's modify the data that we used in tutorial 5 we were using the coin data. So let's make a copy of that spreadsheet because we're going to run the exact same thing, except this time we're going to use if statements to automatically input the value of the coin. So I'm going to right click on the sheet name and select move or copy, and I'm going to click create a copy, and I'm going to rename the worksheet video 6. I'll just call it if then. Oops. And eventually we'll have to update this this button. But I'm going to go out to the code now and also copy video 5. So I'm going to select that, right click and copy, and then hit enter below and click paste, and then I'm going to change this to video 6. Now we're starting to have a lot of lines of code, so sometimes it's good to include some comments in to explain what you're doing. And you enter comments. Comments are not executable part of the code, but they're useful, and you start with an apostrophe like that. And I like to use the apostrophe for two types of things. One is to add a comment to explain something. So when you start a line of code with an apostrophe, it turns it green, the editor does, so the user can kind of use their eyes to see and explain what a section of code is doing, or a line of code. But it also is not executable. So another thing I might do is, if I want to, if a line of code is giving me problems and I put an exclamation point in, an apostrophe in like that, it turns a line of code into a comment, and then when it's executing it skips over that, which can be useful at times. So anyway, what we're wanting to do in this program is do some if, then, else statements. So currently we're asking the user what a coin value is worth. So let's change this and put a comment in. Let me get it lined up with the others. So I'm going to use a series of if-then statements to determine the value of the coin. And I'm going to set coin value equal to 0 in case invalid coin is entered. So I'm going to initially set coin value equal to 0. And now I'm going to replace that coin value depending on what they enter for the coin. So remember, a coin, they're putting the name of a coin. So I'm going to type if coin is equal to nickel, then, and I like to indent between after the if statement so it shows what is inside of the true part. So I'm going to set coin value equal to 0.05, and then whenever you have an if, you need an end if. I'm not putting an else in just yet. So now I'm going to copy this and do the same thing for dime and quarter. I'm going to clean up my indentation here. So if coin is equal to dime, then coin value is equal to 0.1. And I'll paste again, backspace to get my indentation lined up. Then coin value is equal to 0.25. And we'll just leave it at those three. So now I'm going to check the coin value. But first I want to see if they input a valid number. So I'm going to type if coin value is equal to 0, then I'm going to type total value is equal to 0. And I'm also going to give them a message box. And in the message box, it's going to give them like an error message. Please enter nickel, dime, or quarter. Don't ask me why penny is not allowed, but it's just not. And now I'm going to put an else in here to compute the total value if the value is greater than 0. So that if it's greater than 0, it's got a value of 0.5, 0.1, or 0.25. And we're able to compute the total value. And we'll put this message box. We're already giving them a message box if they enter something invalid. So I'm going to cut this and I'm going to move it up underneath the total value. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. And I can put one more comment in. So now we're starting to get a little more in-depth program here. So let's go ahead and go out to Worksheet 6. And I want to update the content of the button and also the sub that runs when the button's pressed. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to edit the text first. I'm going to say coins if statements, and then I'm going to right click again and assign macro to video 6. Click away to get out of edit mode, and then I'm going to run it, And it's very important to test your programs. It wouldn't be unusual for me to make a mistake even in a relatively simple program, for me anyway, like this. So it's very important to test. So I'm gonna type nickel. I'm going to say I've got 4 nickels in my pocket, and it says these coins are worth 20 cents. Now I'm going to type dime. I've got 35 dimes, and it shows they're worth 3.50. Notice that if we wanted to do some formatting, we could do it right on the spreadsheet. I could change that to a currency, and that to a currency. Let me try quarter. I've got 22 quarters in my pocket, and that would be worth 5.50. Now I want to put in something. If I put in penny, how many? It still says how many pennies. Should probably alter that to not show that, but and then if I type gibberish, it still gives me the question, and there I get a bug. I'm not sure why. If you ever get into an error mode and at the top of your screen it says break and you can't do anything, there's a blue button here called reset that you can click to get out of edit mode. So the reason why I got that error is it was doing a multiplication by, we had a value here is long, and I didn't put the pocket and the number in the pocket, I didn't put a numeric value, so it crashed. So you have to make sure the user, there's some error checking that you can do to make sure they put a whole number in. But that's why I got that error. So I can try again. Quarter. How many quarters? 11. And it's worth 275. Notice that if you run the program from the VBA screen, it takes you back here at the end, and you have to click over to the and if you don't specify the worksheet, or if you don't run it from the button, you can run into trouble where you are executing the code on the wrong spreadsheet. So when you run it from this window, the last active worksheet is going to be the one that it writes to. So if I were on this screen and I went over here and ran this code, it would write the results over here, and I'd be confused because I wouldn't have my results where I thought they were. So anyway, notice that it's not case sensitive. Oh, it actually is. So it is case sensitive for this particular one. How many dimes do you have? 33. Those coins are worth 330. Okay, so that's a demonstration of an if, then, and else statement. Hopefully I didn't confuse you too badly. Whenever you start getting more complex and getting different variable types and having a lot of different lines of code, you can see the troubles you can get yourself into. But I'm going to save one last time, and then I'll end this video.